It's April, which means we are in the month of the NFL draft, so today I decided I would break down and rank my top 10 quarterback prospects in this year's draft class. There's some really talented players at this position in this year's draft, making it really hard to bring my list down to 10, but I think I've finally gotten my real top 10. If you love the NFL draft and want to see more draft content leading up to the 2021 NFL draft, make sure to subscribe to this channel for more mock drafts and player rankings on the way. Anyway, now let's get into my top 10. At number 10, I have Texas quarterback Sam Ellinger. Ellinger has a lot of experience as a starting quarterback, having started a total of 43 games with the Longhorns and winning 27 of them. He's also been fantastic statistically. In fact, he's actually second all-time for the Longhorns in terms of touchdown passes and passing yards. He's also a very good leader. He was a two-time team captain with Texas, and I think it's clear to see that he's very confident and a hard-working player, but he's got a few big problems with his game. He's got solid arm talent that isn't exactly ideal for an NFL quarterback, and he's not extremely accurate. However, he's a good scrambler and is a fairly good improviser. Ellinger has been a great quarterback for the Longhorns, but unfortunately I think he's someone who's going to have some serious struggles and challenges in the NFL. I think he can be a solid backup, but unless he gets some good coaching, I don't think he'll ever be able to be a starter in the NFL. Still, Ellinger is a solid quarterback that I think would be worth picking up as a backup on day 3. At number 9, I have SMU Mustangs quarterback Shane Boucher. Boucher is a quarterback that I've liked as a prospect for a while now. He's got solid arm talent and all kinds of experience in college, having started his career with the Texas Longhorns back in 2016 before transferring to SMU, where he's really started to become a top quarterback prospect. Boucher's got a lot of good things going for him. He's thrown over 50 touchdowns in the past couple of years, and he's a good leader and was the captain of SMU this past year, but he's also got some big issues that are holding him back from being a higher spot on this list. He's had some accuracy problems in the past and some interception issues as well. Boucher has a lot of potential in my opinion, but he would need some great coaching before he could actually become a solid starter in the NFL. My number 8 is Jamie Newman. Jamie Newman opted out of his college football season and didn't take a single snap for the Georgia Bulldogs after transferring there last year, but before that he was a pretty good quarterback for Wake Forest, and while I definitely think it would have helped to see him play this season, I still consider him one of the top quarterback prospects in this class. Just like the last two quarterbacks on this list, he's going to need some really good coaching if he ever wants to be a starter at the next level, but I think he's definitely got some good potential. Newman had a really up and down season with Wake Forest last time he was on the field. On one hand, he threw 26 touchdowns, which was third in the ACC, and he led his team to an 8-5 record, but on the other hand, he threw 11 interceptions, and even though his team was 8-5, they lost 4 of those 5 games in their final 5 games of the season. Newman has good arm strength and solid mobility, but he's a pretty poor decision maker, has accuracy issues, and could improve a lot in other places as a passer. Plus, he doesn't have the most experience. I think of the 3 players on this list so far, Newman has the most potential to be an NFL starter, but compared to the other 2 on this list, he is the least fit for the job right now. At number 7, I have Kellen Mond from Texas A&M. Mond's got a lot of experience as the starter for the Aggies with a total of 43 starts, and he holds all kind of records for Texas A&M. He holds the school record for most touchdown passes, passing yards, total yards, and completions in a career. This past season was definitely the best of Mond's career. He tossed 19 touchdowns, ran for 4 touchdowns, and only threw 3 interceptions, and to go along with that, he led his team to a 9-1 record and the number 4 team in the nation by the end of the year. Mond is a great athlete and has some good passing mechanics. He shows good poise and often uses his legs to his advantage, sometimes using them to get yards and other times to move around in the pocket and find the open receiver. Kellen Mond is a guy who should definitely start his career as a backup, but I do think he's got the chance to someday become a starting quarterback in the National Football League. My number 6 is Kyle Trask, who for a long time looked like he would win the Heisman Trophy this past year, but he had some big struggles in the final games of the season and ended up finishing 4th place. Despite the late season struggles, Trask still tossed 43 touchdowns last season, which led all of college football, and added 3 on the ground, while only throwing 8 interceptions all year long. Trask has got a few problems with his game. For example, he's not that mobile or athletic and has trouble extending plays, but overall I think he's a good quarterback, and if he can sort out some of his late season issues, I think he's got a chance to be a good backup quarterback or maybe even an eventual starter in the NFL. Now we are getting into the top 5, and I think all of these guys can and likely will be drafted in the first round, so making this ranking was very hard, but let's get right into the top 5. My number 5 is going to be Mac Jones. Mac Jones had an absolutely incredible season for the Alabama Crimson Tide this year. He had the second most passing touchdowns in college football with 41. He led college football with 4,500 passing yards. He had the highest pass rating and completion percentage in all of college football, and to go along with that, he finished 3rd in the Heisman Trophy voting. Jones was surrounded by a great wide receiver group this season and a great offense overall, and was able to help his team win the college football national championship over Ohio State. Jones has a good knowledge of the game of football and is a good leader. He's able to throw a pretty good deep ball and is a very accurate passer. He knows when players are going to be open, and he often gives his receivers a chance by throwing the ball even into small windows, but he throws them in the exact spot where his receivers will be able to make the catch. Similar to Trask, he isn't the best quarterback at extending plays with his legs or making plays off script, but he is good moving around in the pocket. Even though Jones isn't the most mobile quarterback, that doesn't mean he can't use his legs. Whenever he sees space in front of him, he runs and takes every yard he can get. Jones is a really good thrower, and if he's surrounded by a good offensive line and some good receiving targets in the NFL, he could become a really solid quarterback in the pros. My number 4 is Trey Lance. Lance was someone who I really liked as a prospect before the season, and while I still think he has one of the highest ceilings for quarterbacks in this year's draft class, I don't think he's one of the top 3. Lance is an extremely interesting prospect, one of the most interesting in the whole draft. First off, he played for North Dakota State, an FCS school, meaning he didn't play against teams that are necessarily as good as some of the other teams that other prospects played, and he played only a single college football game this season. In that game, he totaled 149 passing yards, 2 touchdowns, and added 143 yards and 2 touchdowns on the ground. Those numbers are quite good, but they aren't necessarily incredible for someone who is considered a potential top 10 pick in the NFL draft. So why is Lance thought of so highly? Well, his 2019 campaign was incredible. Last season, Lance was simply unstoppable. He passed for 28 touchdowns, 2,786 yards, and an absolutely unbelievable 0 interceptions. But that's not all. He also had 1,100 rushing yards and 14 rushing touchdowns. All this helped him win the Walter Payton Award, which is pretty much the FCS equivalent of the Heisman Trophy, and he helped his team win the FCS National Championship. Lance has some good arm talent and is a fantastic decision maker, which is clearly shown in the fact that he didn't throw a single interception in the 2019-2020 season. Lance is also one of the best scramblers in this year's draft class. He has the ability to keep plays live with his legs or use them to run downfield. He is really fast and has the elusiveness of a running back. He also isn't scared of other defenders when he runs. He runs head-on and is really tough to tackle, which might not be the best for an NFL prospect, but it shows his determination and it also shows if he's not really someone who's able to become a solid starter in the league, he could play a similar role to someone like Taysom Hill has been used in New Orleans. Lance has the arm strength of Patrick Mahomes, the decision-making of Aaron Rodgers, and the mobility of Lamar Jackson. He's got a few issues with his game, but those are issues that can definitely be coached in the NFL. All of this adds up together to make a really good quarterback prospect in Trey Lance, who's already great and has an even higher ceiling. Number 3 is Ohio State quarterback Justin Fields. The former 5-star recruit has been one of the best quarterbacks in college football over the past 2 years, having a total of 63 touchdown passes to only 9 interceptions. Fields has great mobility, and he actually ran a 4.44 second 40-yard dash, which is pretty much unheard of for a quarterback prospect. He's also got really good arm talent, and there were a few times he showed that off this past season, including in the college football playoff against Clemson. He can fit passes into really tight windows, throw on the run, and is a good decision maker, having only thrown a handful of interceptions in his 2 seasons as a starter for the Buckeyes. Also, Fields had just over a 70% completion percentage this past season, which is just superb. However, Fields has a few big issues with his game that are worrying a lot of scouts. For one, he holds the ball further too long sometimes, which occasionally results in him getting sacked. However, Fields has more highs and lows when it comes to his talent. His athleticism really helps him out. Many times he's used his leg to escape the pocket or pick up a big first down on 3rd down. Fields' ability as a passer is top tier. He's able to fit passes into pretty much any window, and as previously mentioned, he has great arm talent. He's also someone that I think a lot of NFL offensive coordinators would want to have on their team due to him performing many trick plays and RPOs and similar things with Ohio State, meaning whatever offensive coordinator gets him on their team would have a plethora of unique and tricky plays they could use at any time. I was considering putting Fields at number 2, but I just don't think he's that talented yet. However, with the right coaching in the NFL, I think he has the potential to be the best quarterback in this class. He's got the talent, and if he can take what he did in college football and change it in a way that will work for him in the National Football League, he's going to become an extremely successful quarterback. My number 2 is Zach Wilson. Now, before the season, Wilson wouldn't have been anywhere close to even this list, let alone 2nd place, but Wilson absolutely dominated this past year. After suffering from a few injury issues over the past few seasons, Wilson absolutely tore it up the season with the BYU Cougars. He tossed 33 touchdowns, 3,692 yards, had a completion percentage of 73.5, a passer rating of 196.4, and only threw 3 interceptions. Wilson also had a dominant season as a runner, totaling just over 250 yards and 10 touchdowns. With these stats, Wilson helped finish top 3 in the nation in multiple statistical categories, including completion percentage, passing yards, passing touchdowns, yard per passing attempt, and passer rating. All of this helped him lead BYU to one of their best seasons in history, ending the year with an extremely impressive 11-1 record, including a bowl win against UCF, in which Wilson had maybe his best game of the season, and they finished as the 11th ranked team in the country. Wilson also has all of the capabilities to become an NFL star someday. He's got great arm talent, a rocket of an arm, and as mentioned previously, he's got some good mobility and can be a threat as a runner and is able to extend plays by moving outside of the pocket and keeping his eyes downfield the whole time. A lot of people have argued that Wilson didn't play against the top competition this year with BYU, but I think by watching him play, it's clear he's a top tier prospect. I think Wilson is without a doubt one of the best quarterback prospects, not just this year, but in the past few years. I love Wilson as a prospect, and with his talent, he has all the potential in the world to become a superstar in the NFL. And finally, we have my number one. Let's be honest, before clicking on this video, you already knew who was going to be number one on my list. I'm pretty sure he'll be number one on everyone's list, but if you still haven't figured it out, my number one is, without a doubt, Trevor Lawrence. The 6'4" former 5-star quarterback is easily one of, if not the best quarterback prospect of the past decade, and honestly he's probably up there as one of the best quarterback prospects of all time. Lawrence has pretty much absolutely everything you would want in a quarterback prospect. He's got the arm talent, accuracy, he makes smart decisions with the football, he's a fantastic leader, and he's shown lots of improvement as a runner in the second half of the 2019 season and in the past 2020 season. Lawrence is also a winner, having brought the Clemson Tigers to the college football playoff in all of his 3 seasons as a starter, including even winning it 1 year. As long as the Jaguars don't make any trades that involve the number 1 pick, they're getting Lawrence. Lawrence is just a dominant player and is by far the best quarterback prospect in this year's class. So that is my top 10 quarterback prospects in this year's draft class. Once again, if you want to see more content like this, make sure to subscribe and leave a like on this video to let me know you want more. I've got a lot of other videos planned that I will get to work on as soon as possible, so be ready for even more NFL draft content and just more football content in general on the way. If you've made it all the way to the end, thank you so much for watching. It means a lot to me. Leave a comment down below with your list or just your top quarterback prospects in this draft class. Thanks for watching, have a good day, and I'll see you next time.